Hello, heroes and dreamers. I'm Peaches, your host today on Campbell's Corner.
How would you advise somebody to tap that spring of eternal life, that joy that is right there?
Well, we're having experiences all the time, which may, on occasion, render some sense of this, a little intuition of where your joy is. Grab it. No one can tell you what it's going to be. I mean, you've got to learn to recognize your own depths.
Welcome again, explorers, to Campbell's Corner. I'm your host, Peaches, and today I have a great guest, good friend, fellow compatriot of all things fantastical, Jazzbot.
What's good? What's good? Peaches, oh my God, we're finally in the booth together.
We are. And yeah, we are. I'm excited. I'm particularly excited that you came up with this topic for us to go over. We're doing things a little bit differently compared to the last episode. We're going to be delving into a topic, something that is both near and dear to both of our hearts, dragons.
Gonna have to put like a flame explosion sound in there. It's gonna happen.
So as I've told you, but I'm going to remind the audience, we are going to be sharing stories with each other, and then at the end we'll talk about it and talk about how maybe dragons are a personal love of ours, and maybe other people in the universe can also share amongst themselves.
Absolutely.
So would you care to go first?
Sure, yeah.
Lay it on me.
So, as far as dragon mythology goes, I want to say it all started with those dang ology books. Wizardology, dragonology, everything.
Everywhere in all the Barnes and Nobles and Hastings.
Yes, and so to begin with, that book just completely altered the course of my little tween brain existence. I had to know more. I had to research.
It gripped you hard and didn't let go.
Never. I even had the one with the pop-up, the little puppet, cardboard puppet ones.
That's right. Well, you put your fingers through and then you can, oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
That and the cardboard mobile hanging ones.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, good stuff. But anyways, why is this relevant? So this got me down a rabbit hole of researching just, myth, history, and backstories behind different dragons. And I think one of the most influential ones that stuck out to me were the four great dragons, or the four great rivers of China. And for me, when I was learning about that, I was like, oh, this is what I would think of the most what would normally come to mind, dragon, like an East Asian serpentine majestic creature. So I had to learn more. And essentially, this is a folk story that originates out of Sichuan, China, and it is a very old folk tale. And it involves a black, yellow, pearl, and long dragon. I won't go through the entire ballad of the story, but essentially the idea was that these dragons were to be banished to become mountains and encased so that their power and greatness could not overwhelm. And for their love of the people that they were a part of in this time, they decided, we're going to be rivers. To heck with mountains. Rivers.
I want to flow, man.
I want to give back to the people. So all four of these dragons essentially mutinied against their intended destiny, and for the love of humanity became the four great rivers of China.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like, too, how Chinese dragons and, just Asian dragons in general seem to be so different compared to, Western dragons, the idea of a dragon in general, because Asian dragons are they're always very kind and very wise, and they're always concerned about giving gifts and that kind of thing, which is interesting and quite the departure from Western dragons. Because, like, you know, in England, it's like, there's a fire breathing and all they do is destroy and all this other stuff, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's really crazy to see the like, complete opposite ends
Mm-hmm.
of that. And I also wonder if there's in-betweens, too, everywhere, if there's tricksters or neutral. What if there are hermit dragons?
There's got to be.
You just want to
If
read.
anybody out there knows of a hermit dragon, let us know.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, and so the story that I bring is about, I don't know if it would be considered a neutral dragon, but it is kind of like a in the middle of these kind, wise dragons and these just forces of destruction. And mine is the Watata. I'm probably pronouncing that terribly. Watata. And it's from South America, kind of Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina. And so different legends have been recorded about this creature. And I mean, some people are like, oh, it's just a giant snake. It's an anaconda or stuff like that. But I mean, and it's very and it's very closely tied to will-o'-the-wisps, which are from European mythology, I believe.
Are those like a part of the Fae? type?
Yeah. They're very
Whoa.
much like tied to showing people things or kind of like leading people down a path or stuff like that. Sometimes being spirits or hauntings or stuff like that. But yeah, mostly you see it out in the wilderness. And if you follow it, you know, who knows what'll happen. Same thing with this, but this is a little bit more ominous. The Boitata. Boitata? I am so sorry it's being butchered. But so I'll tell you the story. So it is said that at one time the jungle was accompanied by darkness and floods that never ended. All the animals left for higher ground. There was a snake that lived deep in a dark cave that stayed in the lowlands because he could see in the dark. The snake emerged from his cave and looked around and saw dozens of lights shining brightly back at him from the darkness. As he got closer, he realized...
Thanks, Oklahoma traffic. I will say for this one, that is going to be insanely difficult to cut out unless I have like
I'm going to back up.
though, no, we can have spooky background music.
I mean...
So it's an option if that happens.
I do
again.
enjoy spooky background music. Yes. I'll back up. And, I mean, you can still add the spooky background. The snake emerged from his cave and looked around and saw dozens of lights shining brightly back at him from the darkness. As he got closer, he realized that the lights were in fact the eyes of the dead animals looking back at him.
Oh my.
Animals that had been caught up in the flood or stuff like that, or sick and just died on the journey to the highlands. Being hungry, he decided to take advantage of both the chaos of the fleeing animals and those that were already dead. He gorged himself on the parts of the animals that he loves the most, their eyes. After eating so many eyes, the light held inside them made the snake's eyes become bright like two suns. His body eventually becomes engulfed in flames as the power consumes him, and he dies in a great burst of light that escaped to the sun, thereby ending the days of darkness. Watata's spirit returns to protect the Amazon and can sometimes be seen as a beam of fire flying over the sky or as two fiery eyes glowing in the night.
Bro.
Right?
That is awesome.
So
and
he's like this,
terrifying.
right? He's this protector of the forest. And I mean, in a sense, I guess he's sort of in between the idea of Western dragons and the idea of Eastern dragons.
Lots of mystery. After we started talking about this more, I also kind of just realized, because sure, every dragon's going to have a different lore from whatever region it originated, but now I'm starting to think I think all dragons are protectors of something, whether it's knowledge, souls, wealth, or any other
Young maidens.
thing. Yeah,
A
especially.
gold hoard.
Right. So it's like I think
True.
that might be a common theme is that there's like some guardianship there of whatever value is deemed in society at the time.
Yeah. I like that. Using big brain. No, I mean, that does make sense. I mean, gold and young virgins were very sought after.
And at a time, knowledge and progression and
keeping the forest safe, all this other stuff. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
So I guess if you ever need a gauge on society, just look at what kind of dragons
What's
they're
your
coming up
mythology
with.
say about you?
Yes, yes.
Interesting, very interesting. So I know we talked about, just a mythology story or that you like. But what's something personal that you hold near and dear to you that has to do with dragons that you carry it with you and it's always there in the back of your head that kind of just lives there rent free?
I think for me, so when I was young, I was an avid reader, and of course, what bookworm wasn't going to read Tolkien at some point in their life? So when I read The Hobbit the first time, I think that really solidified for me, like, the overall concept of a dragon. Sure, you'd see them in cartoons or fairy tales, and you'd see them in, TV, magazines, whatever. And for me, I was like, wow, there's like so many different variations. There's so many different versions. Well, what is my version of a dragon? And then so I read The Hobbit, and of course, I was just like taken aback by Smaug, like just the reckoning that was reading this torrential force of destruction. And I guess for me, why it's so meaningful is not because it was like my first like fangirl for a bad guy, but I was like, wow, this is how, aside from eating people and setting things on fire, I should live my life proudly. Like Smaug.
Right.
Yes.
I should start introducing things about myself that I should be proud of, like he does, because he starts talking about like my scales are like 3 shields, my claws are like spears, all this other stuff. It's like, dang, guy, like,
yes,
yeah, like my hair is super shiny, like a mirror or or something.
Mirror.
But I should pick out things and I'm like, yeah, my glasses sit upon my nose like a proud something or whatever. I agree, we should start talking about ourselves like that more.
our stares can curdle the hearts of men and all the enemies before us. None shall defeat our reign of terror.
Yes, I am 1,000% into this. I think we should go forth and conquer.
Live our best Smaug lives.
Live our best Smaug lives. Hashtag Smaug life. Yes.
Now I want to yassify Smaug and make some memes. Here we go.
So, in your head when you were reading The Hobbit, how did you imagine Smaug? Because my first introduction of Smaug was watching the 1970 whatever movie, with the beautiful watercolors and the all that stuff. So did it differ from that, or?
So funnily enough, I believe I watched the movie first as well as a kid because my mom had them and she really liked them when she was young.
They're awesome.
They really are. Like the whole series is just perfect. But so I did see the original, well, I guess not the original, but the movie interpretation at the time, and he kind of reminded me of a cat. Like he was very like just kind of feline and had these big whiskers and stuff. But,
I mean, he did have hair.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, I remember seeing that going like, what? Dragons have scales. They're like reptiles. They're not, they don't have fur.
Yeah, it definitely gave me kind of more like almost like a grim fairy tale vibe at that point. It was more whimsical than terror. But so usually if I watch the movie before I read the book, it kind of sears into my mind this predetermined interpretation that someone else had. But for some reason, the original depiction just didn't reach me in a way to where it stuck with me. So when I read the book a few years later after I had seen the movie, for some reason, I mean, just it's an attestament to Tolkien's writing capability, but like I was just able to repaint him in my head as this much more like grand and rage-filled just monster of the sky. And I'm really glad that I was able to do that, because nowadays what will happen is I will read a book and I will have this predetermined depiction in my head, and then I go see the movie and I get really mad. And I'm like, I can't change it now.
Doesn't make any sense. It's not what I thought.
So I was able to really tap into my imagination and will something greater.
Yes. I love books just for that very reason. Yeah, and I guess, I would agree. I think that my head depiction of him from reading the book was definitely didn't include fur, which, I mean, I kind of, now that I've grown up and I can appreciate why why they chose that stylistic choice, I kind of have started putting fur on my dragons just because I think it's cool and interesting. And it's like, ooh, it's like putting feathers on dinosaurs. It's like, that's a fun new way to think about it. I kind of enjoy that. Yeah.
Huggable.
Or like anyways. I think that movie was a one that I carry around with me. And then, what's the Hayao Miyazaki, Spirited Away?
Yeah, that one's great too.
I think of the water or
Haku.
well, him, but also the dragon that he was the goo monster, like the muck covered guy, and then she gave him the bath, and then when he came out, she had this intense moment with this ancient being, and he was terrifying but also just amazing and wonderful at the same time. And I remember watching that and being, scared out of my mind, but also just like, kind of like how she acted in the movie, like just standing there silent and in awe and just like, oh my gosh. And that guy had fur too, so hey.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was a really cool depiction of a dragon, because I remember like he was mostly water. He was like a river spirit.
That's right.
And I remember his mask just scaring the absolute dickens out of me as a kid. Right? I was like, is this guy about to eat her? But no, he was just happy because, he got...
Yeah. And then he left laughing, which I thought was hilarious and wonderful and also still terrifying.
Right? Like, I have more questions than answers now.
Right? But it was just like, that's one of those moments where you're like, I was just touched by magic or something similar, but it feels like you're touched by magic. Anyways. So yeah. This has been lovely.
Yes, this is great.
I think that, next time, I mean, we've got a slew of topics coming your way. And I think that what we learned from this is there's many different kinds of dragons. I mean, share with us what you think and #live your best smog life. And we'll see you next time.
Smog life. Peace.
Smog life. This chapter of Campbell's Corner was brought to you by the Possibilities Podcast platform.